Okay, this is a response to abaddon5 and his video on antinatalism.
Anyway, so I started looking more into antinatalism, and I found that the general consensus seems to be that it's mostly against the idea of suffering, which that got me into trouble recently, and I'm going to go into that later in the video.
I guess I'll just say that, yeah, it is about suffering. It's about imposing suffering. I guess to be more specific, it's the risk. You're taking a risk for somebody else. The risk is that there could be great suffering, there could be little suffering, but the fact is you are taking a risk when you procreate. And you're not, the risk is with somebody else. You're not risking your own welfare, you're risking somebody else's welfare.
Like in Mendham, or as Croesusborg used to call him, our resident whack job, in Mendham...
Well, I mean, I'm going to link, put a link in the description of Mendham's, what I think is the very first video he made on antinatalism, and you can judge for yourself whether he's the whack job this guy says he is.
He always talks about suffering. He says, if you bring a child into this world, they're going to suffer, period. And because you brought them into this world, you're responsible for that suffering. Now, I have my disagreements with that, and again, I'm going to bring that up later in the video.
I don't think you did, but yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. You and your partner are making a decision that's going to affect the welfare of your progeny. You can, if you decide not to, then there's no harm done. If you bring someone into existence and they suffer horribly, it's on you because you took the risk. You know that there's a possibility that your progeny will suffer a great deal. And so by making the decision to bring them into existence, it is all on you. And again, I don't think you addressed that later on. I don't know why people seem to have a hard time understanding that. They think, well, if you bring someone into existence and they get raped, well, it's the rapist's fault. Yes, but if they hadn't been brought into existence, they wouldn't have gotten raped.
But I also found another site, and if I can find the site, I will link it in the description because it's actually kind of weird. But I believe, and this was from a while ago, and I should have looked this up before I did the video. I believe the tagline is like, "Save the world, kill yourself." Now, their whole rationality behind that is this: if you live, you exist, you are going to contribute to suffering, no matter what. Period. You're going to contribute to suffering. And to me, this kind of takes veganism and fruitarianism to a whole new fucking extreme. Because what they're saying is, even if you're a vegan, you're a fruitarian, what have you, you're going to contribute to the suffering of something. So the best thing, I guess the most rational thing with this line of thinking is to kill yourself. Because then you're not contributing to anyone's suffering, which doesn't make any fucking sense, because what if your family really cares about you? But...
Well, I guess there's the point. I mean, later on you're going to say, we have an easy out, kill yourself, but it's not an easy out. There's other things to consider than just yourself. I guess, I mean, that's the whole thing about, well, ethics in general is we're looking at the consequences of our actions. Yes, if I kill myself, which I would gladly do, at this point in time in my life, my suffering would end. But the suffering of my family would increase. So it would be completely selfish of me to kill myself. It would end my suffering, but it wouldn't end my wife's suffering or my son's suffering or whoever cares about me. Right? So, anyhow.
You know, so I'm kind of blown away by that kind of shit. And the thing is, I'm not against people having children. In fact, my wife and I, we've talked about having kids. We're definitely not ready yet. And it's still something that we're kind of beating around. Like, we don't really know. We're talking about it, so it might happen. Like I said, we just don't know yet. So, I don't get the rationale. Well, I get it to an extent, but I don't get why you would call yourself an antinatalist. To me, it makes more sense to just say, because of this reason or that reason or that reason, I'm not going to have children.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's you extend that to, I mean, that's what ethics is. It's the consequences of your actions. Yes, I personally, I had an experience with my first wife where she had a miscarriage, and I realized at that point in time that procreation, at best, is risky. I mean, in that case, the miscarriage was like dodging a bullet. It could have been much worse. I mean, a miscarriage is bad enough if you want a child and you miscarry. That's sad, but it could have been worse. So yeah, I mean, that's why I call myself an antinatalist now. I never even heard of antinatalism back then. That was back in 1986 or something. And yeah, I didn't think I could tell somebody else they can't have kids just because, I think it's risky. But yeah, you're taking a risk for somebody else.
So, now to the area where it got me in trouble. Unseen Perfidy, Cardinal Virtues, whatever you want to call it, Rob made a video. It was one of the videos he had made to Inmendum. And I'm not a big Inmendum fan. Inmendum is one of those people that I really try to like, similar to like Fake Sagan, Cat Mossum, The Amazing Atheist, Cody Weber. I try to like these guys, but I just couldn't do it.
Well, whether you like him or not is irrelevant. Is the argument he's making rational or not? I think he's making it, when it comes to antinatalism, I think he's making a rational argument. Yeah, you can be abrasive quite often, but like I said, I'm going to link to his first video where he's not abrasive at all.
Inmendum, he just pumps out way too many fucking videos. He's like Brett Keane in that fucking way. And this.
Well, I mean, so I read just earlier someone made a comment that because theists raise money and atheists raise money, therefore atheism's like a religion now. I mean, it's a non sequitur. Just because he makes a lot of videos and somebody else makes a lot of videos, you can't put them in the same bucket.
Sad thing is, I actually agree with a bit of what Inmendum has to say when it comes to certain political things. Now, certain things he's been called out on, and he's been completely wrong, but he won't concede. He just knows he's fucking right because he's Inmendum, and he's thought about this shit apparently.
Well, you can't just throw that out there. You got to give examples. I mean, really, you have to give examples.
So, in the comment section, someone had made a comment about how like they don't like Inmendum, and someone else had chimed in. I forget the user's name, and I wish I would remember it because I fucking hate this guy. Just from the conversation we had, I fucking hate him. He brought up antinatalism, and I kind of got into it with him. And I'm not going to really go in order of what happened, but we were talking about it. And basically I'm saying, like, okay, if you don't like suffering, you can kill yourself. If you think your life sucks, you can kill yourself. And he eventually got to the point where he said, when did I say anything about me being against suffering? Which, I guess you could say, I strawmanned him in that way. Now, that was completely fucking unintentional. I'm going to say that first off. But second, in my opinion, the only fucking argument for antinatalism that is somewhat fucking decent is the argument that, you're going to contribute to suffering or you're going to suffer, so that's why you shouldn't bring a child into this fucking world.
Well, again, it's not about my suffering or what. You're bringing someone into existence, and you're taking a risk. They might have the greatest life in the world, or they might have the worst life in the world. You don't know. That's the thing. And if your progeny has the worst life in the world, what are you going to say? If they come up to you and say, why the fuck did you bring me into existence, what are you going to say?
And so yeah, maybe I strawmanned him in that. But the thing is,
well, yeah, I mean, if this guy's saying, yeah, you're right. Suffering is the thing. You're gonna, I mean, yeah, by being alive, you're probably going to cause suffering, but you might relieve suffering. But you didn't ask to be brought into the world. And killing yourself is not a solution, because you don't know what you're killing yourself is going to cause more suffering or less suffering. You just don't know. So the best choice is just not to bring someone into existence.
It's funny because if I did strawman him, because apparently he laid out his case why he's an antinatalist. Now, suffering wasn't part of that.
Well, if suffering wasn't part of it, I wish you did have this guy's name, because I'd like to respond to him as well.
Which, in all fairness, maybe I should have caught that earlier, but I just thought maybe he was kind of going beyond the suffering argument, which, some people tend to do. But he was saying shit like how it's never in the best interest of the child, which, first off, how can you have interest if you don't fucking exist? And I even said that. And then he tried to go, like, it's like... Oh.
Well, I think probably what he was trying to say is procreation is only in the parent's interest. Because, yeah, until your child exists, the only interests are yours. Right? You want to have a kid for whatever reason, and you're going to talk about this later on, because, yeah, antinatalists the only thing that would change my mind, as far as I can tell, is a good reason to procreate. What is your rational reason to bring another being into existence? I mean, I don't know why that's such a difficult question to answer. I mean, Luddite Returns, who apparently is gone from YouTube now, he said he doesn't need justification to procreate. And I can't wrap my head around that.
Okay, you do not have self-interest if you do not fucking live. If you are in the fucking womb, you do not have fucking self-interest. You are not even really a person yet. Now, that is debatable. Some people say you are. I say you're not. And scientifically, you're not. So you don't have self-interest.
But you do once you come into existence. I said this in another video. If you could just snap your fingers and there's a new sentient being there, fully aware of itself, would you snap your fingers? And why would you snap your fingers? You're going to create a being that has interest, desires, needs, and you don't have a good reason to do it. I just, that's the argument. There's no good reason to bring a new sentient being into existence.
So that whole fucking argument is stupid. But he was also saying, it's basically a way for immortality, which maybe back in the day, and maybe in some countries, but in the Western world, not really. We don't really place a whole lot of fucking emphasis on our names, and we want our fucking names to live on. That's more of an old world kind of thing. Now,
well, I mean, yeah, that's just one example. Yeah, there's some. I had an argument with a coworker recently, and that was the one thing I said, there's no good reason to have kids, and that's the one thing he brought up. That's the first thing that came to his mind. Keep the family name going.
Like I said, maybe some people today do that, but it's rare. It's definitely not something that is happening rampantly like it fucking used to. So that's stupid. But he also said,
No, it's not stupid. Like you say, it's happening.
Because of some cosmic force willing... It's not cosmic. It's fucking biological. We have the desire to fucking procreate. That's what...
No, we don't have the desire to procreate biologically. We have the desire to have sex. Okay? And unless you got some information I don't know about, because, like I got cats and dogs, they're not thinking, oh, I need to make more cats and dogs. They're thinking, I want to stick my dick in this vagina. They're not thinking about procreating.
We want to fuck. To procreate. That is the primary purpose of fucking.
Well, that's... The primary purpose of the result of fucking is procreation. We want to have sex because it feels good.
Unless you believe in God or some kind of religion that says that, then no, it's not cosmic. It's nothing willing you to do so. It's fucking biological. It is, our species has a desire, and most species have a desire to further their own fucking species.
No, I don't, you're going to have to give me something more than that, because they're having a desire to fuck. They're not having a desire to make more of themselves. You think they know where they just, you know, they have sex? You think they've made the connection between sex and their progeny? I don't think so. It's humans, because of their big brains. And it's not necessarily the big brain. The other primates have big brains, but something about the human brain. We have ethics because of this gift we've been given to differentiate good and bad. Okay, we can decide. I mean, if we could communicate with the other animals, I mean, I can't tell my cats, hey, you know, use a condom. You know, there is no kitty condom out there. We sterilize them so that they don't have these. Well, they could still have the urge, but they won't procreate. Well, I have dogs that are fixed. They still fuck. Are they thinking, oh well, I'm trying to make a baby here? No, they're just fucking.
That's just the way life works. You know, it's not fucking hard, but...
Well, it's not just the way life works for humans. We know where babies come from. We can decide not to procreate. We can prevent procreation. Okay, evolution is kind of stopped. We've stopped the evolutionary process because we have birth control or contraception. So, yeah.
You know, and I'm pretty sure this guy's a fucking atheist, so he should understand this shit.
Well, yeah, most I would hope all atheists accept evolution, and that we have a biological desire to have sex, but a biological desire to procreate, I don't think so. Unless you got information I don't know about.
But apparently he doesn't. So that's the kind of shit that pisses me off. Like, but why is it that he was saying, like, when did I ever say I'm against suffering? So again, he didn't.
Well, again, you're ragging on this one guy. I'd rag on him too, because yeah, suffering is the issue. You're gonna. I mean, I don't know. Apparently, some humans have this defect where they don't feel pain. And that in and of itself, I don't think is a good thing, but maybe they don't suffer, but maybe surely they might. There's mental suffering as well, and to know that you can't feel pain, that must be somewhat on the lines of suffering.
Say I strawman him, but when did all these other people who are having children say that they're having children for all of these fucking reasons? And I mean all of them. Because, yes, some people do that. And he said, you know, people are kind of irresponsible. Which, yes, I agree with. Some people are very fucking irresponsible with breeding. They fucking are. Some people who should not have more kids do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like most people, if not all, are antinatalists to a certain degree. And the antinatalists go one step further and say no reproduction is responsible. Because you're just opening the door to harm, and you don't know how much harm there's going to be. Maybe there's no harm. I don't know if there's anybody out there that hasn't suffered. Maybe there is. I don't know. But the odds are great that your progeny is going to suffer, and may suffer greatly. And your response would be what?
In fact, I know of 2 examples. It's the same fucking type of situation, too. So this is what really fucks me up. It's a guy I used to work with and my cousin. Now, the guy I used to work with had 2 daughters, and my cousin had 2 daughters. Now, between them, all of their daughters came out perfectly fucking fine, perfectly healthy, nothing wrong with them. But, being the kind of guys they are, they both wanted a boy. Now, these guys, they've never met, to the best of my knowledge, so I'm not trying to say, like, oh, they kind of decided together.
Yes, I mean, yeah, there's definitely, you agree there's bad reasons to procreate. And the antinatalist says all reasons to procreate are bad. There's no good reason to procreate. That's what that's what I'm looking for. A good reason. If you can give me a good reason, I can't see any other way for you to change my mind. Because like I said, I can't just change my mind, as my channel name suggests or explicitly states. I'm a determinist. I can't just change my mind. I can't. Maybe I can. I don't know. Maybe original thoughts happen, right? But to all of a sudden think, well, yeah, in this case, procreation is okay, just without some sort of cause, like you explaining to me, giving me a good reason to procreate. I don't see how I can change my mind.
That they're gonna but they each wanted a boy. Well, the guy I used to work with, he now has fucking 5 kids. He doesn't have a pot to piss in, but he's got 5 fucking kids. And in fact, it's funny that he didn't really care much about his wife. They were always going through some fucking trouble. In fact, it's funny that every fucking Monday, when I work with this guy, every fucking Monday, he'd come in, hey, what's up, man? The fuck's your problem? I have a good weekend, Dave. It's because of his fucking wife. So it's like, so you chose to have more kids with this woman, even though you really didn't give a fuck about her, but no, you decided to have a boy. Now, my cousin,
well, I guess, yeah, okay, definitely bad reasons to have kids, but let's say he did love his wife. Why is that a good reason to have a kid? You love your wife, so you're going to take a risk for somebody else. I mean, you love your wife, but apparently not enough. You need to add one more to the family. Do you see where I'm getting at? You love your wife, but you gotta have a kid to make that love really love her. Or you know what I'm trying to say here?
Situation's a little bit different because he actually, to the best of my knowledge, loves his wife, but they have 3 fucking kids, and now apparently they're trying to have a 4th. Why? Well, because he has 3 girls. Now, from what I understand, and I might be wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure I read this, that some people are just predisposed to having, well, men are just predisposed to having, like, all girls or all...
Actually, I think it's the women that's the deciding factor, but whatever.
Boys. It just seems to fucking happen. Because it is the male that pretty much, not decides, but it's his fucking sperm that decides this. So, he's going to do this. And I wouldn't be shocked if he had a 4th fucking girl, and then wanted to have another fucking kid. So that's completely fucking irresponsible. But you could also say, on the opposite end of that fucking spectrum, that my wife and myself, we don't have any kids. In fact, we have 6 fucking animals. We didn't want a 3rd fucking cat, but through fucked up circumstances, we kind of had to take it, and it sucks. But, we have the money for that, but we're thinking about having kids, but we just don't know yet. We want to be responsible. We want to make sure that we have enough fucking money to properly take care of a kid where they...
Well, see, that's, having enough money is... You may have enough money now, but like me, I'm an unemployed engineer. There's unforeseen circumstances that happen. Like my mom died when I was 19. Woohoo, right? I mean, you cannot predict your child's future. It could be decent, it could be horrible. It's a risk. It's not worth the risk. That's all we're saying. Why do you need a child? To prove that you love each other? You're gonna risk somebody else's welfare to prove that you love your wife?
You don't have to fucking do without, kind of like how I had to as a kid, because, well, my mom left us and kind of fucked us over, and my dad had to work constantly just to pay the bills. So, if this dickhead to say this, like, that people are doing it only for these fucking reasons, that just shows that he's completely fucking full of shit.
Well, yeah, if he's saying, I got a website, a link on my channel to a website to list a lot of reasons why people have kids, and they all suck. So, again, I think you're going to say later that our asking for a good reason is not justified, but I think it is. I mean, I'm here because my parents wanted a second child. And now I'm suffering because of that decision. If I hadn't been born, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't be here. It wouldn't matter. If I had never been born, it wouldn't matter. But since I was born, things matter to me.
Impossibly, most antinatalists are full of shit. Now, again, if you just say...
Well, maybe. I don't know. But that's not a counter-argument to the antinatalism argument, just because most antinatalists are full of shit. Right?
I just don't think I want to have kids. I don't want to have kids for this reason or that reason. Hey, that's fine. But, you know, if this dickhead wants to try to act like, people are, like me, I'm strawmanning him, okay, well, go ahead. Deny it. Try to deny it. Try to deny that you didn't strawman everyone else. Go ahead. I know you can't. But, this label, antinatal, it's, like I said, if you think it's wrong to have children, at least come up with something fucking good. Because the thing is, even if you bring up the suffering argument, which again, I think is probably one of the better arguments you can use, because, hey, I say suffering is bad. Suffering is really fucking bad. I don't want to contribute to anyone or anything suffering.
But that's what you're doing, potentially. I mean, I think everybody is going to suffer at one level or another. When you procreate, when you didn't have to, you certainly don't have to procreate. Just because you have the ability to procreate doesn't mean you have to or you need to. But if you do procreate and your progeny suffers, it's on you. You can't. Who else is there to blame? You can blame nature, I guess, but we're kind of like outside nature, even though we are of nature. We can actually make long-term planning, right? That's kind of what ethics is all about. What's the plan? You plan on having this kid, and you're going to hope they're going to have a good life. But like I said, unforeseen circumstances. You just cannot. You don't, unless you're a god, which I certainly don't think you're a god. You don't know what's in the future for your progeny.
I mean, unfortunately, you're going to, in some fucking way. You're going to contribute to their suffering, possibly their fucking death, which sucks. But the thing is, if you talk about life, life is partially fucking suffering. And I know there's a big debate, and I'm kind of going on a little tangent here, but it's going to play a role. In Star Trek V, which some people debate is the worst Star Trek movie, I don't think it is. I think it's better than Star Trek 1. But if you guys haven't seen that, the main guy who can take away people's suffering, it's Spock's brother. And he's saying to all these people, I can take away your suffering. And like Spock, he's half human. And he basically sees his birth, and his father looks at him and says, so human. And that hurts him, because he wants his father's approval and his love. But since he's half human, he's probably not going to get that fully. But when Spock's brother goes to Kirk, Kirk's like, no, I need my pain. Why? Because that made him who he is. That contributed to the type of fucking captain he is, to the type of person he is. He learned from that. And I say, yes, if you suffer in life, you learn something.
Well, yeah, the lesson the antinatalist has learned is don't bring a new being into existence. I mean, the only thing that matters is the welfare of sentient beings. So you're going to bring a new sentient being into existence in order to prevent their suffering. It's irrational. If you want to prevent suffering, the best way to do that is not to make more sentient beings that are going to suffer. So, the whole Star Trek episode is just ridiculous. Does the Spock guy, does he think we should reproduce? It's okay if you reproduce a logical being, but the whole thing's ridiculous.
And, you know, the thing is, if you did something to fuck up, like, you did something and it was your fault. You fucked up somehow. And you suffer as a result. Okay, don't do that again. You know, there you go.
Well, it's not, you know, if I suffer, that's one thing, but if I do something and somebody else suffers, that's what we're talking about. The consequences of actions. The consequences of procreation are potentially great suffering. So I just don't see a reason to procreate. I mean, I'm a parent. I have a son. I've apologized to him twice for bringing him into a fucked up world. First time he thought it was kind of funny, because, you know, we're talking about his student loans and shit. And the second time he was having one of his recurring headaches, one of his nasty recurring headaches, and he didn't think it was all that funny when I apologized the second time.
But then again, you have an easy out. If your suffering is that fucking horrible, that...
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, if I was in physical pain, yeah, I'd hope my family would understand me wanting to get the fuck out of here. But if I'm just, you know, if I just think life sucks, that's kind of a piss poor reason to off yourself. So, I mean, yeah, suicide for somebody that's in really bad pain, that's reasonable. I mean, I'm sure they don't want to leave their loved ones behind, but yeah, if you're in lots of physical pain, that's different. So, and it's not an easy out, even for the person in great physical pain. I'm sure it's not an easy decision for them.
That's fucking terrible. You have an easy out. Kill yourself. But then again, if you want to talk about suffering, what about the people around you? What about the people who...
Well, then why are you saying it's an easy out? You understand that it's not an easy out. I think you do understand it's an easy out, so, yeah.
Really fucking hurt that you are now gone. What about their fucking suffering? So it's kind of a vicious fucking cycle here.
In other words, it's not an easy out.
You're going to contribute. Because of your suffering, you're going to kill yourself to end your suffering. Well, then you're causing someone else's fucking suffering. Now, another thing this dickhead said, because it does kind of play a role with this whole suffering thing, is value of life. Because he said, basically, I'm placing value on life. And I'm basically forcing that on other people, which I don't. I don't force any of my fucking opinions on other people. If you like what I have to say, fine. If you don't,
well, you can't really force your opinions on them. You just have to present your argument, and hopefully, if your argument is rational, they'll accept it. And you can't, like, the only way you could force it is if you know, I don't know how you could force antinatalism on anybody, unless you sterilize them, but... yeah, if I had a magic button, I would sterilize all sentient beings, but whatever.
That's fine, too. If you say, I can see where you're coming from, but I disagree for this reason or that reason, fine. As long as it's a fucking good reason, I'm cool with that. If it's a stupid reason, like I get a lot of times, especially on, like, my Illuminati videos, my videos against the MRAs, etc., then yeah, I don't force my opinion off on other people. I say, here's what I believe. If you agree, cool. Don't, fine, whatever. I don't care. So for him to say, like, I'm placing value on life, which I'm not. I place value on other people's and other creatures' lives because I believe I do not have the fucking right to take their lives away. I do not feel like I have the right to contribute more to their fucking suffering.
Well, then why do you have a right to bring one into existence? I mean, I think you just said if you have a good reason to disagree, you're willing to hear it. I haven't heard a good reason to disagree with antinatalism. Maybe I missed it, but there you go.
That's it. You know, because I don't know if someone walking down the street... sorry, my throat... I don't know if someone walking down the street places value on their life or not. Maybe they don't. And maybe if I killed them, they would think of it as just a sweet release. Maybe they do value their fucking lives. I'm not one to fucking say that. I have no fucking right to say, you appreciate your life to this extent, so you're okay. But if you don't, then I'm gonna do... No. And that's why I hate those fucking Saw movies. Even the first couple, like, when people are like, oh, it has such a good story. No, it doesn't.
I'll have to agree with you there. Actually, I do like the Saw movies, but yeah, Jigsaw is philosophically challenged, to say the least.
some asshole saying, I'm dying and you don't appreciate your life. That's not for you to fucking say. And if I don't appreciate my life, okay, tough fucking shit. You're dying. Did I fucking cause that? No. I didn't give you some fucking disease.
But there we go, about back to antinatalism. You're gonna make a choice to bring someone into existence not knowing the consequences. We know for sure. I mean, again, I don't know if anybody out there that doesn't suffer, but they're going to suffer, possibly greatly. They might get a bad disease like ALS. Did I say that? ALS, ASL, whatever. The Lou Gehrig's disease. If you knew your child was going to get Lou Gehrig's disease, would you go ahead and procreate? And why? You know. Again, we want to know why people choose to procreate. I mean, I know they do it because they want to have a kid and watch them grow up. I mean, those are my reasons. I wanted to be Mr. All-American, right? You know, give my child the life I didn't have. Blah blah blah. But I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Unforeseen circumstances.
So don't fucking sit there and judge me, asshole. And also, if I did say something like, you need to have some kind of value on your life, I would be a complete fucking hypocrite. A complete fucking hypocrite. Especially since I go through spells where I just feel fucking worthless. I suffer from pretty fucking deep depression. And in fact, I even went a step further one time and attempted suicide. So for me to tell other people, you need to value your fucking life, and I didn't even value mine at one fucking time enough to attempt to end it, I would be a fucking hypocrite.
Well, I guess kind of a side note, I mean, being a hypocrite depends what you mean by hypocrite. I mean, I think people tend to think of hypocrisy as applying a standard to others they don't apply to themselves, which is special pleading. I mean, I could say one thing and do another. I could argue for antinatalism, saying, you know, having kids is wrong, yet still have kids. As long as I don't say it's okay for me to have kids, but it's wrong for you to have kids, then, you know, simple hypocrisy means doesn't discredit an argument.
But the lamest fucking example this asshole brought up was, well, I enjoy Game of Thrones. That doesn't mean everyone else does. Really? Really? That's your fucking example? That, a Game of Thrones? A fucking television show? And I know what he's trying to say, or maybe he's not. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply about this.
Well, I've never even seen that show, so yeah. I mean, yeah, that example's pretty bad. But then again, the Star Trek example is kind of useless too.
Maybe he's trying to say it's something as simple as that. Like, it's as simple as saying, okay, life, you either like it or you don't. Just like a TV show. You like it or you don't. But let's take that fucking analogy to a different fucking level. Let's actually play out that fucking analogy. We'll just say the average person lives, we'll just say 65 years. We'll just say that. Game of Thrones has 65 fucking episodes. And we'll just say 20 of them aren't that great. They could be better. They're not that fucking great. Okay, so if you live 65 years and 20 of those years aren't the best, they're not the worst, but they're not the best. Okay, so does that mean everything was fucking pointless? Why did I even fucking bother with this? It sucks. You know, but then again, another stupid ass analogy he had was, you know, no.
Well, I guess I should respond to that. Let's say, I mean, you're giving a moderate example, like, you know, some of your life wasn't all that great, but it could be really bad. Like, let's say the last 20 years of your life just was horrible, right? And you couldn't kill yourself for whatever reason. I mean, we don't have suicide clinics in every city, do we? I mean, I mean, what they did to Dr. Kevorkian was just a travesty of justice, if you ask me. I mean, yeah, I mean, killing yourself, yeah, I think we already established it's not an easy out. It's a difficult decision to make, because unless you're a hermit living in a cave, someone's probably going to miss you and suffer because of it. Anyhow.
Well, atheists, because this is like when the whole no anti-nihilists believe the same thing, which, okay, I found very few who share the same fucking perspective as he did, but, no, atheists...
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd really like to know who you were talking with, because he sounds like a dimwit.
Believe the same thing, yeah, well...
Well, I mean, it just, we all think that, we put a negative value on procreation. That's probably the one thing we agree on.
They do. When it comes to theism, they don't believe it. Atheism is just the lack of a belief in God. That's it. It says nothing else. Nothing else. That's it. Atheism. Without gods. That's it. It's the lack of a belief in God. But then again, I don't really think this guy thought too much about this shit. I think he just kind of thought, oh, with this reason and that reason, that's why I believe this shit. Fucking idiot.
Could be.
But, the thing is, again, we'll just say your life sucks. You don't place any fucking value on it, which I'm fine with. If you don't think your life is worth living, that's fine. Whether that be because your life sucks, because, your parents suck, they've made your life absolute fucking hell, and not just like, teen angsty type hell, where they've just fucked your life up, or you have an abusive fucking spouse, or girlfriend, or whatever, or your life just does not seem to go in your favor whatsoever, no matter how fucking hard you try. It fucking sucks. You have an easy out.
Hopefully you've already come to the conclusion that, no, it's not an easy out. You even said there's consequences to killing yourself, so it's not an easy out.
Kill yourself. That's it. And I kept saying this to this guy.
I mean, we've heard that argument so many times, and it's not a good argument. It's also it's a fallacious argument. You're saying that it's the U2 fallacy, appeal to hypocrisy. We're saying one thing and not acting in accordance with what we're saying. Ostensibly, all we're saying is don't procreate. Yes, life can suck, and it'd be best for me to kill myself. It wouldn't be best all around for me to kill myself. So again, it's not an easy thing, killing yourself. And a person should be able to say life sucks without having to kill themselves. Because, yeah, life is inherently suck.
And I wasn't saying it in like the fucking B-tard way, where it's like, this kind of sucks. What should I do? Kill yourself. Or where someone makes a stupid argument, kill yourself. No. I'm saying, kill yourself. If your life sucks, kill yourself.
Well, it can suck, but there's different levels of suck. My life is pretty sucky, but I'm not in any physical pain. I'm not physically suffering. If I was physically suffering, yeah, I'd probably be seeking out a Dr. Kevorkian. But it just sucks. Okay, and I don't think that's a good enough reason to kill yourself, given the consequences of killing yourself.
There you go.
No.
Or are you second guessing that? Or are you thinking, maybe my life sucks, but I don't know if it's enough to kill myself? Because if that's the case, then shut the fuck up. If you don't place value on life, kill yourself.
Well, see, the value in life is sentient beings. That's the value. The welfare of sentient beings has value. But we're creating that value when we don't have to create it. There was a time when we did not exist, and there's nothing to value. Once you bring someone into existence, you've created a value. If you bring someone into existence, you have to care for that child, because their welfare has value. But you created the circumstances that you didn't have to bring that child into existence. You create the problem to solve the problem. Don't create the problem in the first place.
End it! What, you want to do other shit? You want to fucking take the risk of knocking up some girl? What, are you just going to become asexual?
I had a vasectomy, so I can have sex all over the place and not worry about procreating. But still, I'm faithful to my wife.
And do nothing, just fucking sit there on the computer and play with...
And there's other forms of contraception. Yeah, you can just masturbate for the rest of your life if you so choose. What would be wrong with that?
Your prick for the rest of your fucking life? You know, it blows my fucking mind that this kind of shit exists. It's just like fucking solipsism. Like, if you really think that, then why do you do anything? At all?
Well, see, that's the thing. We are doing something. We're presenting the argument that you shouldn't have children. If we just offer myself, will I prevent further procreation? I mean, I never will, but I can try. I can try to convince you not to have kids. You know, there's plenty of kids out there for you that have a welfare to be concerned about. So why do you have to create more kids to be concerned about?
But you know, I will say this. I've evolved a little bit since I've been here on YouTube. And I try to have an attitude of, if you like something, that's fine. You know, if you have a good reason for believing it, that's fine. Now, I know...
Okay, if you have I think antinatalists do have a good reason for believing, if you want to call it that, that people should not bring more sentient beings into the world. Because you're taking a risk for no good reason.
Now, some people might think that's a little weird, considering what I was just talking about, but no. You can believe whatever the fuck you want, but don't act like everyone else is fucking stupid for having a different fucking set of ideals. You know, I don't think it's stupid to have fucking kids. I think it's kind of fucking ill-advised.
Well, there you go. I mean, yeah, it is very ill-advised because you don't know what is going to happen to your child. Could be good, could be bad, could be very bad. You don't know. It's a risk. You're rolling the dice for somebody else.
To have kids when you can't afford them, or if you just want to have another kid for some stupid fucking reason, you know, whether that be because of religion or because you have to have a boy or a girl, something like that. But the thing is, why do you give a fuck? And it seems like so many
Well, we give a fuck because there could be dire consequences for you procreating. It's really a simple argument.
Natalists, you know, do that shit where, you know, why do you want to have kids? Well, first off, it's none of your fucking business. But second, maybe I want to. Maybe I like kids. Maybe I just like the idea of raising someone, and hopefully...
Hopefully, see, key word. Hope means you don't know. Hope means it could go very bad. So you're going to hope for the best, and if it comes to the worst, what are you going to say?
Hopefully, because it's not always the case, because most people try.
It's a risk. I don't think you've addressed. You're kind of saying, yeah, it's a risk, but you're saying it's okay to take the risk, but you're not giving us a reason why it's okay to take that risk.
Well, they'll make the world a little bit better than it was when they first came.
So you're gonna pass the buck to your children. Why don't you make the world a better place? Why don't you, adopt a child, be a big brother? There's plenty of options besides creating another sentient being with a welfare that needs to be. I mean, you're gonna divide. I said this in my first video. You're gonna divert time and resources to your progeny in the hopes that they will create a better world, when you could use your time and resources now on making the world a better place. So
into this world. Maybe they'll contribute something. You know, because I even read a while back, there's some people like, well, what if you make the next Hitler?
Well, that's an extreme example, but yeah, what if, serial killers don't come out of nowhere. They are procreated. They are brought into existence by their parents, who more than likely hope for the best, but got the worst. They took a risk, not knowing what is going to happen, and I guess the worst could happen. And you don't have a good reason to take that risk.
Really? You really think that the next Hitler is going to come and it's going to be your fault, so don't even take the risk. Don't do anything. It's not even worth it. What if you have the next Hitler? Then I have the next fucking Hitler. Guess what? We learned a lot from Hitler, didn't we? Yeah, I mean, a lot of that shit...
You're going to risk having another Hitler because we might learn something? You're kidding, right?
It doesn't really happen anymore. We're not too keen on the idea of people preaching against, you know, certain groups and then wanting to fucking just slaughter them. And I know it still happens, but I wouldn't say it's as bad as Hitler. But anyway, this kind of shit just drives me up the fucking walls. But anyway, so hopefully I'll be getting more into doing videos. Since my place is, for the most part, put together, still have a few things left to do.
Okay, I think that's about it on the antinatalism. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't want to come across as, you know, condescending or anything like that, but yeah, I'm an antinatalist. And until I get a good reason to drop the antinatalism, you know, I can't just change my mind on a whim. I guess I could, but I would have to explain why I stopped being an antinatalist. And the only reason I could stop being an antinatalist is if I had a good reason to not be an antinatalist anymore, and that's going to come from the external world. I don't see how I can just... I mean, maybe, possibly, I can have an original thought about antinatalism, how it's wrong, but the best way is for you to tell me why I should stop thinking procreation is a bad thing. Okay, thanks for watching.